The galaxy had been silent for decades, its vast expanse littered with abandoned colonies and crumbling space stations. Humanity had spread far across the stars, but found itself teetering on the brink of collapse after centuries of overreach. Resources were scarce, alliances fragile, and hope even scarcer. It was into this fragile peace that an urgent call pierced through the void. A distress signal from a remote mining outpost orbiting a dying star. The message was terse. "Help us. They're here." No one knew who they were, but the tone alone sent chills down spines across systems. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving only static in its wake. Within hours, every major faction scrambled to respond, or at least pretend to care. But when the task force finally arrived at the outpost, they discovered something far worse than any of them could have imagined. Lieutenant Mara Voss stood at the helm of the Eclipse Asterisk, her ship hovering cautiously near the derelict station. She adjusted the controls as she scanned the structure before them. What once might have been a bustling hub of activity now looked like a ghost town, its outer hull scorched and pockmarked by what appeared to be weapons fire. Lights flickered weakly inside, casting eerie shadows against the reinforced glass windows. Still no response. Mara asked, glancing toward Ensign Kai Torres, who manned the communications console. "No, Lieutenant," Kai replied, frustration evident in his voice. "Nothing since we picked up the initial distress signal." Mara frowned. Something about this felt off, not just the lack of survivors or signs of life, but the timing. Why would someone send out such a desperate plea if there wasn't time to escape? Or worse, what if whatever happened here was still lurking within those darkened corridors? "We'll suit up and investigate," Mara said firmly, turning to address the rest of her crew. "Stay sharp. This isn't going to be easy." Her team consisted of 4 others besides herself. Kai, pilot and tech expert. Dr. Elise Grayson, their biologist/medical officer. Corporal Jace Rourke, a grizzled veteran armed to the teeth. And engineer Theo Grant, whose knack for fixing anything mechanical often saved them from disaster. Together, they formed a tight-knit unit capable of handling almost anything, As they docked with the station and stepped onto its cold metallic surface, the airlock hissed ominously behind them. The interior was dimly lit, with emergency lights casting long, distorted shadows along the walls. Dust covered everything, and the faint smell of burnt metal lingered in the recycled air. "This place looks like it's been hit hard," Jace muttered, gripping his rifle tightly. His eyes darted around, scanning for threats. Whatever did this wasn't messing around. Dr. Grayson knelt beside a pile of debris, examining it closely. "These scorch marks aren't consistent with standard plasma weapons," she noted aloud. "It's different." Different was bad. Different meant unpredictable. Different meant danger. Mara gestured for the group to move forward. "Let's keep moving. We need answers." They moved cautiously through the labyrinthine corridors of the station, their footsteps echoing hollowly in the oppressive silence. Every room they entered told the same story: chaos, destruction, and death. Bodies lay scattered throughout, some slumped over workstations, others sprawled across floors as though trying to flee. None showed obvious wounds, which unnerved everyone even more. What killed them? Thea whispered, voicing the question none of them dared ask. Before anyone could answer, a low hum filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. It vibrated through the walls, making the floor tremble beneath their feet. Then came the sound, a deep, resonant growl that seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere all at once. "That doesn't sound friendly," Kai said nervously, clutching his sidearm. Suddenly, movement caught their attention. Shadows shifted in the distance, coalescing into shapes too large and too fast to belong to humans. As the figures emerged into view, the team froze in horror. Towering creatures loomed before them, their forms grotesque amalgamations of flesh and machinery. Glowing red eyes burned with malevolent intelligence, while jagged limbs ended in razor-sharp claws. Their bodies pulsed with an unnatural energy, as though they were alive and yet not entirely organic. "Well," Jace said dryly, raising his rifle, "guess we found our boogeyman." Without warning, the creatures lunged forward, moving with terrifying speed. The team barely had time to react, opening fire as they scrambled for cover. Blasts of energy ricocheted off the walls, illuminating the scene in flashes of blue and orange. The creatures didn't seem fazed. They shrugged off shots that should have torn through armor and bone alike. "We can't fight these things head-on," Mara shouted over the cacophony. "Fall back." Retreating deeper into the station, the team regrouped in a maintenance bay. Breathing heavily, they assessed their situation. Ammo was running low, morale lower. Whatever these beings were, conventional weapons weren't going to cut it. "There has to be a way to stop them," Dr. Grayson insisted, flipping through data on her tablet. "If we can understand how they function, maybe we can exploit a weakness." Theo nodded. "I noticed earlier their movements seem tied to some kind of central power source. If we can locate and disable it, it's worth a shot," Mara agreed. "Kai, see if you can trace the energy signature. Everyone else, stay alert. These things are relentless." Hours passed as the team navigated the treacherous station, evading ambushes and piecing together clues. Finally, Kai pinpointed the source of the creature's power, a massive reactor buried deep within the station's core. Encased in pulsating tendrils of alien technology, it radiated an otherworldly glow. "This is it," Theo said, studying the reactor. "But disabling it won't be easy. Whoever built this thing designed it to last forever." Jace cracked his knuckles. "Then we improvise." Working together, the team devised a plan. Using Theo's engineering skills and Dr. Grayson's knowledge of xenobiology, they rigged a makeshift EMP device capable of disrupting the reactor's energy flow. Meanwhile, Mara and Jace prepared to hold off the advancing horde long enough for the plan to succeed. When the creatures attacked again, the battle was fierce. Mara and Jace fought valiantly, buying precious seconds as Theo activated the EMP. A blinding flash of light engulfed the chamber, followed by an earth-splitting roar as the reactor destabilized. The creatures convulsed, their bodies disintegrating into ash as the power sustaining them collapsed. Silence fell once more. Exhausted but victorious, the team made their way back to the Eclipse Asterisk. As they departed the station, Mara couldn't shake the feeling that they'd merely delayed the inevitable. Those creatures hadn't come from nowhere. They were part of something larger, something ancient and incomprehensible. Back aboard the ship, Kai broke the quiet. "Do you think we stopped them for good?" Mara stared out the viewport at the remnants of the station drifting against the backdrop of stars. "No," she admitted softly. "We bought ourselves some time, that's all." And as the Eclipse Asterisk jumped to hyperspace, leaving the wreckage behind, an uneasy certainty settled over them. Somewhere out there, the most feared had arrived, and humanity would soon learn just how unprepared it truly was. Asterisk word count, 1,000 asterisk.